Okay, off we go, Chairman.
Order. Mr. Flynn to move the motion.
Thank you very much. It's always a pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, Mr. Gale, and my thanks to the Petitions Committee under their inspired chairman, the member for Warrington North, for letting me introduce these two petitions. It's a bit of an occasion because the first petition has been signed by more people than any other in this Parliament. It's signed by 573,971 signatures, and it calls to block Donald J. Trump from UK entry. The second petition is don't ban Trump from the United Kingdom, and this is a curious one. It's signed by 42,898 signatures, but 30 signatures were removed from that petition because they were thought to be suspect and coming from one source. So please beware, anyone who's trying to rig the system, you will be found out. And in this case, 30,000 signatures disappeared. The first petition reads, the signatories believe that Mr. Donald J. Trump should be banned from UK entry. The UK has banned entry to many individuals for hate speech. The same principle should apply to everyone who wishes to enter the UK. The United Kingdom is to continue applying their unacceptable behaviour criteria to those who wish to enter its borders. It must be fairly applied to the rich as well as the poor, and the weak as well as the powerful. And the other petition reads, we shouldn't be banning anyone for their opinions or domestic actions in a US political race that doesn't concern us. But more importantly, if he does actually win the nomination and then goes on to win the presidency, we then have to work with a man who we banned from our country. Let's mind our own business. If I can summarise the government's response, which wasn't entirely helpful, to both petitions, and the government says the government does not routinely comment on individual immigration and exclusion decisions. Exclusion powers are very serious and are not used lightly. The Prime Minister has made clear that he completely disagrees with Mr. Donald Trump's remarks. The Home Secretary has said that Donald Trump's remarks in relation to Muslims are divisive, unhelpful and wrong. The government recognises the strength of feeling against the marginalisation amongst those it endeavours to protect. The government doesn't directly answer questions on those that are banned, but they did publish a list of 20 who were denied entry to the United Kingdom between 2008 and 9. And if I could give you some idea, I won't mention the names, we don't give them extra notoriety, but the sort of people who are banned. And the first one was a leader of a violent gang that beat migrants and posted films of their attacks on the internet. He was considered to be engaging in unacceptable behaviour by fomenting serious criminal activity and seeking to provoke others to serious criminal acts. Another one was described as a preacher, considered to be engaging in unacceptable behaviour by fomenting terrorist violence in furtherance of his political beliefs. Another one was considered to be engaged in unacceptable behaviour by seeking to provoke others to serious criminal acts. A fourth one was a Muslim writer and public speaker from India. He was excluded from the United Kingdom because he had made anti-Jewish statements and thus fostering hatred amongst others. And those are entirely typical of the kind of people who were excluded. And I think we should say that the situation with Mr. Donald Trump, it doesn't apply in those cases. These are far more serious and presented an immediate threat of violence. The petitioners claim that there has been violent attacks taking place in America, in Boston and elsewhere, with people who quoted Donald Trump when one of them attacked a Hispanic person, another one attacked a Mexican, it's alleged. And that's what the petitioners are making their points on. But I believe there is one case that does represent the situation with Mr. Donald Trump. And that's the one with Mr. Geert Wilders, who, a Dutch person who was seen to be fomenting hatred against Muslims and guilty of homophobia. And he was banned by the Home Secretary in 2009. And what happened was Mr. Wilders appealed to the court and won. And the result was that he was allowed into the country. The publicity and attention he had for his Islamophobia in his film was multiplied 100-fold by the ban. And I believe that's something that we should bear in mind. Yes, of course.
I'm most grateful to my honourable friend for congratulate him on leading this debate and securing this debate. Does he share my concern about the number of cases that have come to light since the comments made by Mr. Trump, but not because of what Mr. Trump said, of British Muslims who have been refused admission to the United States of America? And does he agree with me that when that happens, whether they are Muslims or not, there should be a clear indication of why people have been refused admission to America?
The figures are worrying, but of course we're still in a position where the President of America is still Barack Obama, and I'm sure that he would look with equal disapproval of these instances, but they need to be investigated. But that certainly is something of considerable concern. But Mr. Wilders' case is one of great significance to us, I think. Those who wrote the main petition said this: freedom of any kind comes with responsibility. This includes free speech. Freedom of speech is not the freedom to engage in hatred. Words can wound, and wounds can be a rallying cry to violence. The reality of hate speech's ability to incite violent acts is why the UK laws have stopped some 80 individuals from entering the UK to date. They quote the petitioners certain violent acts that have taken place in America that they put down to Mr. Trump's intervention. I think we want to make it clear the way that this has been reported throughout the world. It's caused an enormous amount of attention. That this is no attempt to disrespect in any way Americans or the American state. This is a country of which our cultures have melded together over the years, getting ever closer. This is the country that's sacrificed more of its sons and daughters in the cause of creating democracy in other countries than any other nation on earth. This is the land of Barack Obama, of Martin Luther King, and Abraham Lincoln. The great, yes, indeed.